guys doing? Thanks for joining me on another episode. So today, well, if you don't know, my name is Steve, and today I'm going to talk about something that possibly could change the trajectory of your life. I mean, it kind of changed for me a little bit, but I don't necessarily think that my results will be everybody else's results, but I think this topic it means a lot to me, and I think that I hope that this will resonate with you guys too. And what I want to talk about is what's referred to what I refer to rather as a professional pursuit. Now, this is a little bit more than just deciding what profession you want to do, or or what goals you might have. I mean, it goes beyond that. This is all about figuring out what skills and talents do you possess that you really resonate with, that others really resonate with, that you can use to help make the world a better place, right? At the same time, this is about you finding peace and harmony in the work that you're doing. And so, on one hand, it's about finding something for yourself that you resonate with, but then it's also finding something that the world resonates with. Also, this is not something that you will typically be able to complete in a year or 2 years. This is more of like a lifetime pursuit, if you will. And so, many of us, and I've been here not very long ago, probably 5 or so years. But it's been a process. But many of us are floating through life, and we're looking toward the weekend to bring us relief from our work week and the grind that we're going through every single day, right? We look towards the weekend and we're like, man, I can't wait until Friday gets here. And whatever God or deity or whatever that you believe in, you're like just thankful that they allowed you to get there, right? I mean, I think a lot of us can probably relate to this. And at the same token, a lot of us dread the fact that Monday is only a couple of days away from Friday. And so if we're always looking towards the weekend, but not really looking forward to Monday, I would argue that you probably don't really have a solid professional pursuit. Because if you're just thankful that the weekend got here and you're not looking forward to actually doing more of the work that you were doing, I think that's definitely not resonating with you. The work potentially isn't resonating with the world. And I would argue that you definitely don't have a lot of harmony going on there. The Japanese language has a term that describes this idea, and that word is kokorozashi. And it's really not at all easy to define. In fact, if I haven't said this before, Japanese, what I've learned is that it's not super easy to just translate directly into English the way that we like to define things in the Western world. The Japanese language and culture doesn't follow those same kind of rules, and so it's kind of a philosophy, if you will. And if you know anything about philosophy, just trying to wrap everything into one word is quite challenging to do, or into a couple of words. And so this is definitely one of those instances. But let me unpack this a little bit for you. And thinking about this in the context of that professional pursuit, yeah. And at least that's how I like to look at it. I think it's important, I was talking a little bit about harmony just a minute ago, and I think it's important that you really think about building more work-life harmony, because I think when you understand what that professional pursuit is for yourself and how it fits into the world that you're living in and how it flows, you start becoming a little bit more, I don't know, there's just a peace that comes with that, right? If you know anything about me, you'll know that I, really encourage people to discover their Ikigai. If you haven't heard anything about what Ikigai is, or even if you have, I would encourage you to go back to my other episode on Ikigai. There's a link in the show notes here. And I highly encourage you to go back and take a look at that, because I believe your professional pursuit really isn't going to mean something to you unless it flows from that understanding of what you find meaning in for your life, right? And so that's what Ikigai is really all about. It's understanding like what's the purpose behind you getting up every morning, right? It's that thing that energizes you, and that you don't necessarily need to be good at anything, right, for it to energize you. But it's about flowing from that feeling that you get when you understand what your Ikigai is and you've discovered it. It's flowing from that into this professional pursuit, right? Into this kokorozashi. And when you're able to do that, the result is that it's not going to compete with different parts of your life or conflict with who you are personally. And that, I believe, is how you can figure out that harmony, right? Because, you've probably heard a lot of people talk about work-life balance. I think that's bullshit. I don't think there's anything that resembles that anywhere, because balance to me suggests that it's kind of like a scale, right? Where you can put a couple of weights on one side and you put a couple of weights on the other side, and then it balances itself out. How many of you would be able to tell me that your work life and your personal life are completely balanced? I doubt there's very many of you that could say that, but there's probably a few of you that would say, I feel like there's some harmony in the work that I'm doing and the life I'm leading. There's probably a lot of you that are struggling with that, though. And, we'll talk a little bit about what you can do about that later on in this episode. But, what I've found is it's pretty rare for people to have that work-life harmony and to truly understand their professional pursuit. And when you think about it, just one last thing on the whole balance thing. If you think about it, we spend 25% of our available time each week working, typically, right? I mean, that's average. Some people may work less. Some people may work more. But I think on average, 25% of the total available time we have every week is spent working, right? And just that math equation right there suggests to me that your personal life and your work life are never going to be balanced, because you still got to sleep, and you still got to eat, and you still got to do all of the, the things you got to do for life, right? Like adulting, right? And so anyway, I think approaching it from the perspective and mindset of harmony is a much healthier way to think about it. And personally, for me, it's really helped me blend the two of those parts of my life together in a much more cohesive way. And it doesn't feel like things are at odds with each other, right? So, I don't know if this is resonating with you at all. If it is, I would love it if you would subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be talking about these types of things more and more as time goes on. And my goal is to be able to, make this more of a regular occurrence. I've been kind of sporadic with my YouTube stuff over the years, but I've made a commitment to myself to show up in this way much more than I have in the past. And so my goal is to be able to show up more like this. So if you want to be able to see and hear more episodes like this, please subscribe. I would be honored. But so the thing about work-life harmony, right, is that when you have it, you can start developing more resonance with yourself, right? And you start, feeling like more of who you are. You're getting more connected to your authentic self, right? Which is part of that process of discovering your Ikigai, is really discovering your true authentic self and being able to live your life from that place. And so if you understand what your Ikigai is, then your professional pursuit will flow from that point. Yeah. And when you're able to do that, that's where you start being able to understand, like, what would be a worthwhile pursuit for me? What does the world need? And it's, the answer isn't more shit, right? We don't need more shit. We need more instances of people helping each other in service to each other, right? This isn't about selling more things or making more things, I don't think. Maybe you disagree with me, and that's fine. But I think it's more about that mindset of service. Okay, so that's what I think about when I think about benefit to society. And when we have more resonance with ourselves and we have more resonance with the things that we're doing, it creates more resonance with the world around us, right? It allows us to engage in our world in a much more meaningful way. I think a lot of us are really truly looking for meaningful interaction, meaningful work, meaningful lives. I think the pathway to that is really, getting a better handle on some of these things. If that's what you want, if that's your end goal, I believe you need to start figuring out some of these things that I've been talking about. So if you agree with that, or you're like, well, maybe I don't agree with that, either drop a like or a dislike or a comment. I would love to hear what you think about that. But the last point I want to make is when we have that harmony, when we've figured out that work-life harmony that we've been seeking, and we've been developing that resonance for ourselves, and we understand, it's like, okay, if we first start from the point of discovering our Ikigai, understanding that reason for being, right? If we understand that, and then we start figuring out, what does my professional pursuit need to be? Effectively, that can give you like your North Star, right? If you understand like directionality for life, having something that you can use as a like a guiding kind of mark or landmark, let's just use a metaphor for a minute. So let's say you are using a GPS unit or a mapping compass, if you're old school like me, and you try to use either your compass or your GPS, and if nobody was able to figure out how those can point north, how valuable do you think they would be to you? I mean, they probably wouldn't be that helpful at all, right? If you have no idea if what you're using to navigate is actually helping you navigate, then why would you use it? That's insane, right? That's like, you might as well just walk aimlessly around trying to figure out where you want to go than using something, a device like that doesn't work, right? Because we would probably end up happening, you'd end up walking in circles, or, I mean, or just aimlessly wandering and not really have any idea where you're going, right? So that's kind of the metaphor here. Understanding that professional pursuit kind of gives you that mark. It's like, okay, if that's where I'm heading, then it's going to help you understand what to say yes to, and it'll help you to understand what to say no to, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that in an upcoming video episode. But I think if you understand where north is pointing for you in a professional sense, it's going to make it a whole lot easier for you to really feel good about where you're going, get that resonance with yourself, and really be able to develop a strategy around how to get there. Because if you don't know like where you're pointing, how are you supposed to develop a strategy to get there? If you don't know where you're starting from, it's impossible to get anywhere, right? And so I like to think about it like a guide, right? So your kokorozashi, your professional pursuit, however you want to think about it, that should be your guiding like principle, right? This is where I'm heading. So, if you'd like to learn more about how you can develop your kokorozashi, or to learn about discovering your ikigai, I have a coaching program. It's called The Obvious Route. And in that program, I work with clients to help them, first discover what is it that brings your life meaning, right? What is your true authentic self, or your ikigai? Then we transition into developing exactly what I was just talking about today, your kokorozashi, your professional pursuit, that thing that you're pointed towards, that energizes you, that gives you that harmony that you're looking for. And then we develop a strategy to help you get there. And there's probably countless ways that you could do that, but I have a process that works pretty well for me. It's worked for other clients, and I'll teach it to you. And then finally, we develop, your critical thinking skills and your problem solving skills that you've probably used to help your clients a lot of the time, or your employer, or however you're supporting people in a continuous improvement role. We turn that inwardly, right? So we apply that same type of thinking and problem solving into helping you achieve what that kokorozashi is for yourself, that professional pursuit. Now, you can go visit the website. There's a link in the show notes. Go check it out. See what you think. If you have any questions, reach out to me. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. And I truly hope today was helpful to you and that you found value in it. And like I said, if you'd like to know more, I would love to have a conversation with you. So please reach out. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Ciao.